Welcome to the Force to Chirp podcast.
Welcome back to the Force to Chirp podcast, the official podcast of the Findlay Force of the Michigan Independence Hockey. I'm Keith Kokinda. Ben Ickes is along with us, along with our guest player today, Turner Merrill, one of the youngest players in the team. Thank you for joining us, Turner. A couple things coming on. First of all, the schedule is due to be released next week. It's still being finalized. A couple little details going on. July 11th will be the free agent camp. Check out our Instagram account at Findlay Force Hockey, as well as our YouTube channel here for more details on that. There may still be a couple spots open for that. It'll be all day on Saturday, July 11th at the Cube. The league itself is finally finalized. We do have 12 teams in the league. The Fraser Falcons are joining up, taking the place of Michigan Shadow, which have been given a year off to regroup. And then the Jackson Generals were just announced last week as the 12th team. Jackson has quite a bit of history in low levels of minor pro hockey going back to the 1990s, so they will be a welcome addition to the MIHL. Also, the divisions have been renamed. There'll be the Michigan division, which will be Alpena, Kalkaska, Muskegon, Northern Michigan, St. Ignace, and West Michigan. Findlay would be in the Huron division, made up of the southern teams, including Fraser, Motor City, and Waterford in Metro Detroit area, along with Jackson Generals and the Summit City Distillers out of Fort Wayne. So that's the structure of the league this year. Playoffs yet to be announced on that. So with that, we go to Turner Merrill. As I said, local product, Findlay High School graduate, now, as you can see in the background, attending Bowling Green. For those of you watching here on our YouTube channel. And Turner, I guess the first thing to ask you, you're a year removed from high school. What do you see as the biggest challenge stepping up to a lower level professional club like the Findlay Force?
So that first year after high school hockey was just, staying on the ice, keeping in shape, hitting the gym, and then just getting any time I could get on the ice was probably the biggest thing to me. It didn't matter, money or anything. I was just trying to get on the ice. If it was a free skate or like a men's league game, it was just trying to better myself.
What prompted the decision to go this route as opposed to going University? Because Bowling Green does have the ACHA program as well as the full-fledged NCAA team. What made you think, this is the better way for me to go?
To me, like nothing against BG, but I felt hearing about the Findlay Force, and then obviously I knew Draven because I played high school with him, and he had mentioned it to me and asked me if I was interested, and I was like, of course, like the hometown kid, I would love to play for the Force, especially being in the barn. I grew up in my whole life, like playing in that arena, so it was an easy decision to me. Rather than going to play club for BG, I just was like, I love this arena, so it's clear cut for me.
Yeah, you mentioned Draven Wilson. He just mentioned he was the captain of the Findlay Trojans last year, got them to the regional final. You two were teammates for a couple of seasons. How much will that help your adjustment going to this professional level?
I just think building that chemistry, I mean, we already have some, so going on to this team, it's just like we have two different play styles, but like I feel like they kind of work together. And I mean, honestly, I feel like he can be there kind of protect me a little bit, but also know that I'm there for him. So it's like it's a good thing to have somebody from your past with you, but also like it's also making these new friendships and new like chemistry with these new players and new teammates.
Yeah, you mentioned having that support of someone being a hometown kid. The fact that you're playing in front of a lot of people who probably watch you play for the Findlay Trojans, how much do you think that's going to help both you and Draven being so soon out of high school?
I think it definitely helps the atmosphere for like the Findlay Force games. I think I know when I had family and like people that my family know, they contacted my mom like when they heard about me and Draven signing, and they were like, they instantly got their season tickets because they're just excited to see me and even like Draven as well, just like to keep seeing us play because like they enjoy watching us. So that was so great to hear.
Well, you talk about fan support. You probably being right there, living there, and just even though you're just up the road a little ways up at BG now, tell me about what you've seen and felt as far as fan support, not just from your family, but from the people who may have followed you while you were at Findlay High School and just the community in general. What's that been like as far as the team is concerned?
Just when I was in high school, you know, the games they got packed, and like we would love to see that for force games, having those huge crowds, great atmospheres. Like I remember my senior night, it was a packed barn, so like just getting those, and then with that you just get that adrenaline rush and you get that energy boost because you got all these people like rooting for you. So I think that goes hand in hand with us in the force.
Yeah, Cody Lang, the owner, is talking about what a great response the team has gotten from the community as well as the business sponsorships as well. As I mentioned, you're going to be one of the youngest players, probably second to Draven in terms of youth. What do you think is the biggest adjustment you're going to have to make stepping up with guys who are, in some cases, 5, 10, maybe even 15 years older than you?
Just somewhat disciplined, but I also say like leadership, like not being afraid to, you know, just like talk, like just even if I'm the one of the youngest, I still got to be using my voice to the team and not listening. Like I obviously we have our leaders already, but you know, being my own leader and not just, you know, being a follower. So being a leader in my own and just continuing to grow as a player. And then obviously, I think there's going to be some physicality to keep up with. So, you know, this summer I've been hitting the gym quite a bit, trying to get a little bigger, get a little faster. Because, I mean, playing against guys way older than me. So, you got to get bigger, faster, stronger.
Well, you talk about leadership and the fact there are some pretty good leaders. Matt Wachinsky is going to be the captain. What do you see in terms of trying to learn from them, as you said, to be kind of develop your voice and develop your place in the team?
Honestly, I would just say like the in-game situations, and then you know in between intermissions, just like learning from them, like and just like listening and seeing like the small details in a game matter so much. So like learning from them and seeing what they see, it will go a long way.
For those of you watching on YouTube, apologies for the if you're bothered by it, the Ohio State mug I have here, but they do let me work for them occasionally, so that especially as a hockey, of course, hockey. Bowling Green, Ohio State used to play each other all the time back in the old CCHA days, and Bowling Green winning a national championship back in 1984 in a 4 overtimes game, and of course producing Ken Morrow, who played on the Miracle on Ice team in 1980, as well as following that up with 4 consecutive Stanley Cups from the New York Islanders. And from my own personal perspective, of course, the great Mike Emmerich, great hockey broadcaster, spent some of his graduate days at Bowling Green, getting his PhD there, as well as broadcasting Bowling Green hockey. In terms of Turner Merrill's our guest, one of the youngest players out of Findlay High School right there in Findlay. Tell us about how you got started in hockey. What compelled you to think, yeah, I want to stick with this game. This is the game for me.
So it's actually to me, I think it's a pretty funny story. I started out little kickers, like I was a soccer, and one of my soccer coaches, he was doing like the like IP is what it's called at Finley, like the littlest kids just like learning the game and all that. And he told my dad, he's like, give him a try, like have him try it out. And you know, I got on the ice and I'm falling all over the place, but I just loved it. I did like 1 or 2 more years of soccer, but I think growing up, I was always outside rollerblading, and I was always trying to get better and not trying to fall. But I think instantly like that, I just felt love for the game. So I put everything else to the side and was like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Now, in terms of soccer and hockey, I don't know how much you think the soccer tactics kind of carried over into hockey, because tactically there's some pretty good similarities between the two.
I definitely think the hand-eye go hand in hand together, and I know in high school we would warm up with a soccer ball, just like to get the hand-eye going, and I think it does great value. Just with your getting your feet and all that ready for games and just warming up. But I think along with the hand-eye, you got deflections, puck battles, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Europeans really brought that over here. I think every hockey team in North America does that now. In fact, one of my hazards I have to watch out for going into the OSU ice rink is the visiting team usually plays a little soccer out there in the concourse where the entrance is, and I'm always having to be paying very close attention because too many teams try to draw me into the game. And that's never a good idea because I was a goalkeeper, and one of the many reasons why is I didn't have skills. So me trying to get into that, no, not going to work in those keepy uppy games. But I go Turner Merrill is our guest, Ben Ickes handling the technical aspects. This is the Forced to Chirp podcast, episode 4 for the Findlay Force of the Michigan Independence Hockey League. Remember, season tickets still available. FindlayForceHockey.com is the website. Plenty of time to get those before the season begins in October, where the final schedule due to be released next week. Make sure also that you're following us on Instagram at Findlay Force Hockey, as well as here on our YouTube channel. All the home games will be shown live here on our YouTube channel. In addition, they'll be available on demand, usually 72 hours following the completion of the game. Ben Ickes is always doing a tremendous job with getting those uploaded, as well as these podcasts. We will be recording episode 5 a little later on this week, so make sure you check that out both here on YouTube as well as Spotify. Also, another announcement that came out a few weeks ago and is being worked on: the Flight Crew, official dance and cheer team for the Findlay Force. Our coaches have been chosen for that. As soon as I find the right page here, I know I have it here someplace. Yes, there we go. Yes, I want to make sure I give them a shout out. Mackenzie Stevens will be the coach. Delaney Thompson will be her assistant. You can follow the Flight Crew on Instagram as well. Just go to the Findlay Force Hockey page on Instagram, and you can follow them there as well. Several members have already been announced as being on the team. Those are also available on both Instagram feeds, so you can check that out as well. So it should make for a great, entertaining atmosphere. I realize, Turner, road trips, for you haven't been nearly as long or as adventurous as some of these other guys have done in some of the lower levels of minor pro hockey. But what kind of a interesting road trip story can you tell, especially if it involves your arch rival Bowling Green? Of course, we all know, as Cody Lang knows all too well, Bowling Green Findlay in high school hockey is a big rivalry.
So I think the biggest probably road trip story is I remember it was my freshman year of high school. I was JV that year, but that year they ended up going to regional finals, and in my room we had all streamed the regional. It was actually the semifinal game against BG. So it was against BG, and they had won that game, and I had everybody in the JV team was in my room, and we were just going crazy because our varsity team was going on to the regional final that year. And it's always good to beat BG high school hockey.
Yeah. The rivalry there obviously helped develop your skills. Plus, you've got also other big powers up farther in North Toledo, St. John Jesuit, Northwood, among others. How much of that competition do you think is going to help you in terms of has helped you in your development and will help you going forward?
I think it's just like it kind of brings that fire because obviously, like, outside of the season, you kind of become friends with like the kids that go to Perrysburg. I did a couple years where I knew the kids from Francis. So every game in when I played varsity, it was a competition because I know those guys wanted to beat me, and I know my team, we wanted to beat them. So it brings that just that willing and competitive to win. And I feel like it just like that brought so much in the high school game that I want to win here. So
Francis, of course, meaning Toledo St. Francis de Sales. And I have to emphasize that because there is also a Columbus St. Francis de Sales for people listening in Central Ohio. The Toledo, they've got some powers. They've won some championships that they're not quite like you've seen from Cleveland or even now in Central Ohio. A couple of Central Ohio teams have finally broken through and won state championships. But how do you see the playing with those guys and then having to turn around and play against them? How does that feel when you know them that well? Do you think it's advantageous? Do you think it's disadvantageous to you because they know you just like you know them?
I think I most of the times we would just what our coaches would tell us is, you can be friends with them after the game, but before and during the game, they're not your friend, they're your enemy. So you want to get under their skin and don't let them get under yours. So being a little pest, I try to get under their skins and not trying to be buddy buddy with you till after the game. That's just what it was. And then, if you just text them after the game and like, good game, but during the game and before, it's not buddy buddy. You're there to win. It's a competitive sport. Everybody wants to win, and there can only be one loser.
Yeah, hearing you say that, I'm beginning to hear a little bit of the Kachuk brothers, Matt and Brady there, because that's kind of, in addition to being terrific players, they've got that, they're that pest, and now they're going to be playing together down in Florida since Brady's now left the Ottawa Senators to go join the Florida Panthers after what was for them a very disappointing season, not able to complete the Stanley Cup hat trick this year. And of course, it's going to be even a little more difficult for them now that Sergei Bobrovsky in free agency has signed with my beloved Toronto Maple Leafs. So we're not saying, hey, what about Bob? In fact, that's actually forcing Gavin McKenna to change numbers. McKenna wore 72 at Penn State and in juniors before that, and he was all set to wear 72. All of a sudden, a week or so after the draft, they signed Bobrovsky. And like, whoops, he's the veteran. He gets precedence in this one. So, what in terms of the season itself, what's the one thing you look for as a young player? You're looking forward to more than anything else, especially as a young player?
I think to me it's just building these relationships with my teammates, and obviously the road trips, like just building some bonds and some friendships with these guys. Like hockey, to me, I've always thought of it as like a brotherhood. So just like being on this team, making some new friends, some new relationships, I think that's going to be huge.
This is the Forced to Chirp podcast of the Findlay Force of the Michigan Independence Hockey League. Turner Merrill is our guest. Ben Nick is taking care of all the technical aspects. Scott Bland, who is the commissioner of the MIHL. We do plan to have him here on a future podcast sometime later this month, so be on the lookout for that one. That's, again, with the way the league has grown, they started out with 8 teams last year. We're down to 6. Now have doubled in size to 12 and have a very good league structure, especially in terms of distances. I think that's going to be a big difference this year for this team. The longest trip, which would be up to St. Ignace, just up by the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, is only going to take about 5.5 to 6 hours, which is about half as much as the longest trips for this club, sort of club in Worcester last year. So, Turner, we thank you very much for taking the time to be on. Last word we'll give, sort of last word, your last word will give you a chance to give shout outs to anybody who might have, friends, family, people supporting you, that kind of thing. Let them all know how you feel about them and how much you appreciate what they've done for you.
Happy birthday, Dad, by the way.
Yes.
Shout out to you, all those road trips, Mom, spending all the money on sticks, coaches wise, Patey, Somerville, Chad Weasel. That's pretty much it. But yeah, looking forward to the season.
Well, we sure are, Turner. Thank you very much. Uh, just and thanks again to Ben Ickes, as well as Dan Ridenauer, normally my co-host. He wasn't able to make it on tonight, but he's normally the co-host of this show. He'll also be my color commentator on our YouTube channel when we do the game broadcasts. Again, due to be released sometime either this week or next. Again, Chad, make sure you're following Findlay Force Hockey on Instagram. And you can check out all the previous episodes of this Force to Chirp podcast, either here on our YouTube channel or the audio version over on Spotify. Again, episode 5 due to be recorded here in the next 2 to 3 days. The audio version usually uploaded within about 24 hours. The video version about 72. Ben is working all of his editing and video wizardry, as he always does. Always makes the job for us a whole lot easier. So again, Ben, thank you very much for everything you do. Turner, thank you very much for everything. If we don't see you at the free agent training camp on July 11th, we'll see you when the season opens in October. Again, check us out on our next episode of Force to Chirp, the Findlay Force podcast. I'm Keith Kokinda. Thanks for listening here watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify.